Now let's do a demonstration of profitability using Workday Adaptive Planning. So we can do profitability by line of business, by location, by whatever it is you want to slice and dice by. We're looking at right now a data entry sheet, and you can have unlimited versions on here. Right before I started this demonstration, I made a copy of the budget version and I called it What If. These are identical now. That's about to change. Within here, you can also have unlimited dimensionality. So I'm looking at my organizational structure. Underneath the organizational structure, we've got profit centers. These profit centers can be broken down by state, by city, by location. You pick, you choose. It's completely up to you. I've also got some different administrative overhead cost centers. So we've got admin, HR, marketing, and so forth. These costs are going to be allocated back to the profit centers based on whatever you want to base it on. Could be headcount, could be square footage, could be percent of revenues, could be whatever you'd like. So we're looking at admin right now. Now we're going to make some obvious changes and see the impacts to the other cost centers and profitability by segment, by this, by that, and so forth. Let's make some big sweeping changes. And these are going to be very obvious when I get back there. So I'm going to put in 200,000 here. I'd like that number to basically go out throughout the entire year. So I made that change. And maybe for office supplies, we'll make that $10 million. Again, something that's going to be very obvious to stick out. And how do I want to spread that back throughout the time periods, in this case, the months? Maybe based on last year's actuals, maybe a 4-5-4. You pick, you choose. You can have unlimited breakbacks. In this case, I'm done. I hit save. What this means to you, and the power here is the fact that when you make that save, everything updates on the fly in real time. You're not waiting for an overnight consolidation. I can go right now into a dashboard and start analyzing this information or making more changes and seeing the impacts. So as we go in this dashboard right now, I'm looking at policies. So here's my total and new versus cancellations, policies by line of business, cancellations by, or perhaps claims, premiums. But in this case, I'd like to go into profitability. And here you have to look close. As I look at my what if, that's $2.022 billion, whereas my budget was $2.040 billion. So it actually dropped considerably, but the numbers are so big it's tough to see on the graph. Same idea with the comparison by line of business. As we look at our loss ratios, we can see our budgeted loss ratio was 48%, whereas our what if is now much higher. It's 109 based on all those expenses that we just allocated in. Your operating expenses are much higher on your what if versus your budget. You can see anything you want. So in this case, I'm looking at my loss ratio by location. If I drill into California, maybe I'd like to see it by my line of business. And we go in the line of business, I can see personal property is the biggest versus life versus home. I can drill by any dimension that I want. Highest operating expenses, again, I can drill into this maybe by account and see how we're getting this information. Obviously, the overhead allocations are going to be the biggest piece of this because that was the large numbers that we just threw in there, but I can go ahead and drill on that as well. But it's at your fingertips. Here it is by state. As we look at it by state, California is now taking $20 million versus what it was in the budget of 2.8. So again, you can see these changes. And lastly, our expenses. The budgeted expenses was 17.1 million. The claims after allocation took 15.9. The sales cost centers took 26.9. All the overheads got allocated out, so there they are, which gives you a new 59.9 million of allocated expenses into our different profit and cost centers. And this is an example of using Workday Adaptive Planning to go ahead and analyze your values, your data, your profitability by virtually anything you want.